Oh. Oh, he's there. Oh. Only thing left to do now is to light this thing on fire.
That's it. Then we're done.
Looks awesome. She looks dirty.
It's pretty dirty, man. What do you think?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. How are you?
What's up? Good to see you.
Hey, man. How are you?
All right. So what do we got here?
So we got a 2003 Lightning. I've been trying to buy this truck for about over 10 years, and I think it's been sitting about just as long.
Wow.
It is absolutely disgusting.
It
Probably
is.
the most foul smell I've ever smelled in my life on the inside. Oh, yeah.
But that smell, that waft that you're getting, that's urine. Because the poop kind of, you know, evaporates after a while or whatever.
Right.
The urine stays in there. That punch in the face where your eyes start to water. I'm very familiar with urine.
These are pretty rare. They only made about 4,000 of them each year from 1999 to 2004.
Wow.
So this is a 2003 dark shadow gray, 2003, 2004 only color. I think it's the best color. And I've been looking for one of these for a long time.
It's been sitting for what, 10 years?
I think over 10 years. This says 2007 right down here.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Look at that. All right. Let's call our guys. Let's get it back to the shop. First things first, we need to get the animals that are definitely living inside before you can start working on this thing.
Yeah, let's get rid of the friends.
But hopefully when it starts to run and it's, you know, getting back into shape, we can do some burnouts with it.
For sure. That's what these things are good at.
Look at that. That's all feces. Wow, is that Alcantara?
Yeah.
With that, we loaded her up on the flatbed and brought her back to the studio. The Ford Lightning was first introduced in 1993 as a high-performance version of the F-150 produced by Ford's Special Vehicle Team, or SVT. It came with a 240-horse 5.8-liter V8 and a heavy-duty 4-speed transmission from the F-350. One of its main competitors at the time, the GMC Cyclone, was faster, but the Lightning still maintained its towing capacity for its daily driven duties. The first generation SVT was retired in 1995, and after a 3-year hiatus, Ford introduced the second generation Lightning SVT in 1999 with a total redesign, suspension upgrades, and all of them came with a flare side bed.
Everyone knows that lightning is an electrical discharge from the sky.
The latest version came with a 5.4-liter V8 producing 380 horse, along with the tranny from the all-new F-350, just like the previous one. This new second generation was retired in 2004 to make way for the all-new Ford Raptor, so this is now a bit of a cult classic that desperately needs to be saved. The next morning, Tom and I suited up to get her inside and disassembled, including the urine-soaked carpets.
Oh, baby. Oof. Still makes my eyes water.
Oh, yeah.
As Tom and I were removing everything on the interior, check out the mouse hiding underneath the driver's side trim. As soon as we pulled it, he bolted into the dashboard, and that's the reason why the truck smelled so ripe. It was because it was very much still actively used as a toilet up until today.
Where did he go? He hopped up in there.
Even the dead mice were still relatively fresh. Now, it usually takes about 2 to 3 months for a mouse to fully decompose, and even less time when it's hot and humid like it was yesterday when we picked up the truck. So it's clear that this guy died recently, further indicating this is an active nest. With the interior now disassembled, I asked Tom what it would take to get this truck running again.
I think if we start with fuel pump, fuel filter, and spark plugs, we can get this thing going.
You think so?
Clean everything out first, get it back to the shop, and see what we got.
Yeah.
Yep, get rid of all this stuff here.
I've done this for a very long time, as you know. That is
Next level smell.
Yeah.
Like absolutely insane.
It's the worst thing I've
Yeah,
ever
so I don't think I'm gonna even play with the carpets. So what we're gonna do is just order some carpets for this thing at the same time.
Cool.
I'll clean the seats and do that, but right now you can almost wring out the mats. There's so much urine in it.
Yeah,
So, anyways,
that's bad.
I got a couple hours to do. You're the man. Thanks,
All right,
bud.
man. Thank you.
Be well.
Step one is pretty basic. I'm going to put an ozone machine in there just to help knock down the odor and to encourage the mice to vacate without being harmed. While that was cooking, I swept out the bed along with its army of ants. Now, normally I would just lift the vehicle as you've seen in 1,000 other episodes, but there was a bit of rust at all the lift points, so I decided not to press my luck and just wash it on the ground. Next up is a healthy power wash. After a few hours of exterior cleaning and at the same time allowing the ozone to do its thing on the interior, I first vacuumed up the mouse trails from underneath the carpet and trim. For all the plastics, I'm first using lather just to clean up the heavy dirt and the years of grime before I go in later and disinfect it. I repeated the same process on the metal floorboards, but this time with lather in an aerator just to cover a larger area quickly. Again, remember, this is just a step to remove the urine, the feces, the dirt, etc., not to disinfect it. While I was cleaning the dash, I noticed a newspaper jammed in one of the vents. Once the years of filth were removed, I mixed white distilled vinegar 50-50 with water and let the cleaner sit on the metal for 30 minutes before wiping. This is an acetic acid and can destroy some bacteria in about 5 minutes and some viruses in roughly 30 minutes, so give it some time to do its work. For those of you wondering why I used vinegar here, I did it for two reasons. One, it stinks inside. Again, trying to just flush out our friends safely because they don't like the smell of vinegar. And number two, it's directly used on the metal and not fabric, which won't stink forever like it would on fabric. While the vinegar mixture is baking in the interior, I started cleaning the disgusting Alcantara seats outside the car. To clean the seats without totally stinking up the material with vinegar in the process, I first added warm water to a foldable bucket, then 3 squirts of Revive microfiber towel detergent, and grabbed an upholstery brush. Before going in with the scrubber and the soapy bucket, I first pre-soaked the area with shag fabric cleaner and let it sit for a minute or two before I went in and agitated the Alcantara. After all that was done, then I went in with the steam vac just to remove all the lifted grime, and you can just see it coming out of the Alcantara, and it was so much better after even one pass. I did this multiple times based on the level of dirt and stains present. On the passenger side seat, I first pre-soaked with Titan 12 degreaser because of all the handprints and oil stains, scrubbed with Revive, and then used the steamer and the steam vac because this side was just way worse. With everything clean and disinfected, I focused on slowing the rate of oxidation on the floor caused by the mouse urine, which is corrosive. I first sanded the heavy rust and added a few layers of primer. It's not perfect, but again, it's under the new rug, which, by the way, just arrived. When the new rug comes, it's all rolled up, so I left it outside for a while just to stretch out a bit before Tom and I reinstall it inside the truck. Okay, at this point I have the seats outside drying. We got the carpet in, but I do need to let the primer dry. Now we're gonna focus on the paint. As you can see, the outside, absolutely disgusting. We power washed it, then I scrubbed it down, and it's still gross. Now most of you might be thinking, why didn't you clay it? Now the reason I didn't clay it is because it's so bad right now that I'm just gonna go through tons of clay bars. Instead, what I'm gonna do is go through multiple pads. It's much cheaper, quicker, and faster, and I think you're gonna get better results. Now what happens is, over time as it sits outside, the paint heats up and cools down, meaning it expands and contracts. And when there's dirt on top of it, as soon as it expands, that dirt gets deeper and deeper. This is a prime example of that. So it's incredibly dirty within the paint. So what I'm gonna do is use that machine to oscillate and rotate all the way around and basically scrub it and just pull out all the junk. When I'm done with that, then I can kind of go in and polish it. So it's kind of a two-step process here because it's so dirty. You can see after just one pass, the pad is already incredibly dirty. So I needed to figure out a cleaner way to work. Otherwise, this process is going to take forever. That turned out to be a project in and of itself.
Wow. All right, so here is the 50/50, the after. This has been about an hour to get here. I have to tell you, in probably 20-something years of detailing cars, I probably had 4 or 5 cars that have been very, very hard. This is within that top 5. I had a Mercedes that was rock hard. For some reason, and I'm trying to figure it out, I have to call Kevin Brown and have a little discussion. This was one of the hardest paints I've ever polished. And so here was the process. Normally, I just thought I'd go in with a foam pad, clean all this up, sort of in lieu of a clay bar. Just easier, quicker, I can throw this away, no problem. That didn't work, okay, no problem. Go to a wool pad, this usually gets it. Wool pad was better, and it really stuck to this, meaning I could see I was cleaning it, I was cleansing the paint a whole lot more, but still, you can see there's swirls in there. And then I said, you know what? Sometimes it's easier just to go to sandpaper, right? Because you're flushing a lot of it out with water. You're not introducing a lot of heat. 3,000, meh. And then I said, okay, let's go to 1,500. Now these are foam backs, right? So they're not as aggressive. Meh, again. Then I went to 1,500 film disc, which is very heavy and it's a lot deeper cutting. That seemed to be doing a little bit more work. If I had 1,000 or 800, I'd probably go to that, and I don't, because we generally don't carry that much or that heavy. So at 1,500, then I backed it up to 3,000, and then I went to a wool pad. That was the steps to get to where I am now. Is it perfect? Not even close. It's significantly better. And so to me, this is what makes it exciting. I'm exhausted. You can hear that I'm tired right now. I've spent an hour and something just doing one half of a panel, but that's the cool part about detailing. Every single time I do a car, it's a completely different story. Just like when I pull out the inside of a dirty car, you can see all the things that are in there and the history. I dig that stuff. Having paint that comes out perfect easily, yeah, it's fun and great and wonderful. But having paint that challenges you and then sort of figuring it out in the process, that's what I really love. So anyhow, here's the 50-50. I'm exhausted. Time for some lunch. Then I'll come back and finish this up.
I repeated the same steps on the passenger side of the hood as well. For the rest of the non-horizontal panels, in other words, the hood and the roof, all that was needed was a sheer wool cutting pad, and it looked absolutely fantastic when I was done. For the taillights, I used 1,500, 3,000, then compounded and polished, and they looked brand new when I was done.
Okay, now that we finished polishing the paint, I want to show you something very, very cool. This is kind of a geeky moment here. If you look at the difference between this area of trim and this area of trim, this is sort of normal decay, normal, kind of like getting white and old. This is where Frame Pro comes in. It looks fantastic, put on there, done. This one here has turned white. So this is like crazy oxidation. And the interesting thing is both this panel here and on the other side, same thing, it's white, but none of the other pieces of trim have that. So to me, I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but it's likely that this was manufactured in a different plant because it's a pretty unique area. Anyways, before you put on Frame Pro, there's something you need to do to prep this. Because it's so white and so flaky and so oxidized, you can take a heat gun now, not something for your hair, right? A Home Depot kind of thing. This is an industrial strength one for working on interiors. Turn it on, I have it pretty high, maybe just below high, right around like medium, a little bit higher than medium. And then I go in and move gently, and you can almost like paint the area, but you don't want to get it too hot, because if you get it too hot, you're going to make it very, very shiny, because all of the texturized will start to become flat. So it's kind of like paint. So if you were to sand paint that had orange peel in it, if you sand it too much, you're going to have it perfectly flat. Which you're like, oh, why is that a bad thing? It's a bad thing because the rest of the paint around it has orange peel and this area has flat, it's gonna stand out. So if you run your heat gun on here for too long and then turn these little textures here, it feels like rough. If you turn that super smooth, it's gonna be shinier, thus more black, if you will, and it's gonna look weird. So I'm gonna run this through this little process here. It takes like 5 minutes and it's ridiculous. It's like popping a pimple or something. It's so satisfying to do this. Now, this is becoming fun. All right, so after I spread out the carpet, you can see that's obviously the driver area, that's the little hump there, passenger and so on. But you notice that there's no holes in here. If we come over here, you can see the disgusting one that I left outside. It's definitely got a little bit more indentations and things, but I guess that's just years of sitting there in the car, but there's obviously holes everywhere. So Tom's gonna come over and help me figure out how to put the holes in, put this in properly so that you know, he's happy, plus we're changing the color of it as well. So when he gets here, we're gonna put the carpet in. Yeah, those guys are no joke. Seats in?
Seats in, man. Let's do it.
Looks nice.
With the carpet sort of dry fitted in, we bolted down the seats just to test out the proper fitment before we permanently glued it to the floor. Now at this point we got the interior in and it smells fantastic, but you can see here the Alcantara has started to dreadlock. And so the process for removing that is pretty simple. You just take a razor blade like this, a shaver, and literally come in, and you can see just gently, I'm starting to pick up a lot of those little lint balls you can see right here. And so if you take your time, you can get those off. Now they have fabric shavers that are used for sweaters and things. With this much Alcantara and the fact that this has really, really dreadlocked, it'll most of the time kind of clog those over-the-counter machines and tools that you can buy for sweaters. But on these, look at that. Just go in one direction. You can see you're literally just shaving it. See how it's all coming off here? And it's gonna look so much better. So just run through a few times, and then when you're done, you can just go in and shave too. With the Lightning looking and more importantly smelling better, it's now time to head over to Tom's shop and see if we can get this SVT back on the road.
It is looking good. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Larry.
Good to see you.
What's up?
Hey, what's up?
How are you, man? How you been?
Good. So tell me what's going on here.
All right, well, we have done quite a bit of work, me and my dad. We went through pretty much the whole car just to get it running, did our due diligence.
Yeah.
Anytime you find these old cars, everyone wants to just fire it up, hear it run, and that is really the last thing you should do, because that's how you cause damage. You never know if there's mice nests inside the engine somewhere that could be sucked in, so even though you want to hear it roar, you always have to go through it, just make sure everything is safe.
Yeah.
So we pulled the fuel tank out, we sent it to Putnam Radiator, they cleaned the fuel tank, we blew the fuel lines out, we cleaned the fuel injectors, we took all the fluid out, we drained the differential, the oil, the coolant in the supercharger, and the engine, we went through all that. Then we changed the spark plugs. When we had the spark plugs out, we just made sure that the engine had good compression. We're gonna add a pulley and a whole bunch of horsepower to this thing, so we wanna make sure it's healthy. So right now, we're just getting ready to put some coolant in it, and we're gonna fire it up.
Okay, that one's good. This guy's good.
Ready?
Looks clear.
Fire it up.
All right, I'm gonna
Fire it up.
let me prime the fuel pumps quick. Yeah! Hey! All right. This is awesome.
Great, man. Holy cow. Thing sounds great.
Wow. What do you think that is? First time in 10 years?
I would say first time,
yeah.
at least 10 years that this thing has
Wow.
run.
10 years. Runs pretty good.
After a few minutes of healthy idle and topping off some of the fluids, it was now time to take her for her first ride in years.
So, how'd it go?
Drove great,
Yeah.
ran great, blower sounds amazing, all the vitals look good.
It's looking good, man. The outside looks great. I do have to tell you though, the rims and the tires, it's killing it right now.
Awful.
Yeah.
I got a new set of rims. LMR hooked me up.
Yeah.
20-inch replicas of the stock 2003-4 rims, gloss black.
All right. So we got that, but now you have what, winter tires on this thing?
Yeah, we got to get rid of those. I got to get those Vertestein
What's
tires.
the best way to get rid of those?
I have an idea.
All right, let me see it.
That's one way to do it. That's right here.
So just about then, the new black 20-inch LMR rims showed up. They're going to be sick on this truck. Now, as a tire distributor, Tom's going to need some tires, of course. He has a choice of pretty much everything on the market because he sells them, but he decided to go with his number one seller, which was Vredestein. If you're unfamiliar, Vredestein is a European tire brand over 100 years old that focuses on safety and design. For a daily driven, powerful truck, especially in the Northeast, we got snow, we got rain, we got cold temperatures, we went with the Quatrac Pro Plus, which is their ultra high performance tire. Best-in-class grip on wet roads, it's like 5% better grip in snow, and a lower rolling resistance for better fuel economy, which obviously, especially in the Lightning, this thing devours fuel with that big blower on it. These tires in particular come with wider grooves and small cuts in the tread to quickly push away water to prevent the light rear end, especially on a super high horsepower truck, from skidding out, and it just overall gets better grip. Plus, they're crazy wide, which in my opinion adds to the overall look. It looks like the car now has shoulders. As I mentioned earlier, these tires are designed by legendary Italian design house Giugiaro Design. My R8 and Cayenne both wear Vredestein, and the sidewall design is unlike any manufacturer I've ever seen. Once mounted, they completely changed the look and feel of the Lightning.